Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Daily Current Affairs with Sathya sir. I am Sathya from IQ Ideas, and I bring you important current affairs and news snippets from a daily newspaper. I also point out interesting articles to read from the newspaper for improving your reading comprehension abilities and interesting words to upgrade your vocabulary. Today is the 19th of July 2025, and without further ado, let's jump into today's headlines. There's a half page in front in which the main news is ED arrests Baghel's son in Chhattisgarh liquor scam. Okay, so ED arrests ex CM Baghel's son in Chhattisgarh liquor scam. Okay. The Enforcement Directorate arrested Chaitanya Baghel, son of former Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel, from his residence in Bhilai, after the agency conducted an early morning search at his premises in connection with an alleged Rs 2100 crore liquor scam during his father's tenure as CM. Okay, the only important thing is the name of the Chief Minister. Bhupendra Baghel was the ex-chief minister, the former chief minister of Chhattisgarh, and it's a juicy bit of news, but the details may not be of much concern. Below that, we have the government plans defense takeover of Lakshadweep Island. So let's put that. The government plans defense takeover of the Bitra Island in Lakshadweep. There are 105 families in the island, and many have opposed the move. But the Lakshadweep administration's revenue department has issued a notification dated July 11 for a social impact assessment, and it says that the intention is to transfer the entire island to defense and strategic agencies, considering its strategic location and national security relevance. So for defense purposes, an entire island is being taken over, but there are a few people living there. So it would be interesting to see what is going to happen. Behind the half page, at the back of the half page, we have a lot of statistics based article which says for most Indian farmers, costs grow faster than income. Okay, that's a pretty sad piece of news. That's a concerning piece of news. But most importantly, because of all the numbers and the graphs there, I would read this article and try to use these numbers for practicing my data interpretation. Okay, let's move on to the front page, the main page, and the biggest headlines is US designates Lashkar Front TRF a global terror organization. Okay, US designates Lashkar Front TRF as global terror organization. Okay, so TRF is the resistance front, and it is responsible for the Pahalgam massacre, which happened in India at Jammu and Kashmir. And the US State Department has designated it as an FTO, which is a foreign terrorist organization. Obviously, India has welcomed this move. And the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on X has said, and I quote, a strong affirmation of India-US counter-terrorism cooperation. Appreciate at the rate Sec Rubio and at the rate State Department for designating TRF an LET proxy as a foreign terrorist organization and specially designated global terrorist. Zero tolerance for terrorism, hashtag OpSindoor. End quote. Okay, interesting. So obviously, terrorism is a major issue around the world. The Pahalgam attack was a dastardly attack on Indian soil. In response, Operation Sindoor was conducted, in which many terrorist bases were destroyed on Pakistan soil by the Indian armed forces. And of course, the entire world has taken note of this particular incident. Right. Let's move on to the other news. The India cries foul as EU curbs on Russia hits Gujarat refinery. Okay. Naira Energy's refinery in Gujarat's Vadinar became the first in India to come under Western sanctions as European Union Friday announced fresh curbs on Russian oil exports with the aim of throttling funding for Moscow's war machine. Russia and Ukraine are at an armed conflict with each other. Russia is a big ally for India, and we get a lot of oil from there. And as the European Union lays curbs on these exports from Russia, imports to India, uh, the Naira Energy's refinery has become the first one to come under these Western sanctions. Okay, exports may be hit because Rosneft holds 49.1% stake in the refinery it brought from SR Oil. The European Union curbs may jeopardize its exports to Europe and Africa, impacting operations and jobs. And the Russian company's attempt to exit the venture, it started talks with RIL, now is also in doubt. Very interesting geopolitical issue, something related to infrastructure, oil being a cornerstone of infrastructure for any country. So let's see how this particular event pans out. Other thing is the pass rate for learners license test from home soars to 90%. Earlier it was 75% at the RTO centers, and copying concerns emerge. Now, reading this news, the biggest thing which comes to my mind is during the pandemic and post pandemic, a lot of entrance examinations could not be conducted in person. So, many institutes started conducting exams in online format where students could even take the examination from their own home. Now, there have been claims that artificial intelligence is used to monitor the students through their own devices as they write the examination from the comfort of their own home. But of course, there had been concerns that this is not a foolproof method and there could be instances of cheating. Now, something like this concern coming up when people are appearing for their learner's license test from home and there's a significant increase in the amount of pass rate will definitely bring that under scrutiny. What is left to be seen is how does it affect any of the examinations which can be taken by a candidate from home. So we move on to the city page, and a lot of crime related news or not of much interest. The next city page also does not seem to have any great updates of national importance. The next city page as well is not important. The state page seems to have again crime related news, and the nation page, starting with the nation page. Uh, the big headline is cardiac medication sales shoot up 50% in 5 years. That's very concerning. 7 lakh die of sudden cardiac arrest a year. So, cardiovascular diseases or CVDs are a group of heart and blood vessels disorders often linked to lifestyle factors. They can lead to serious conditions like heart attacks, strokes, and heart failure. Okay, so this is a very concerning issue, although not of importance for current affairs from the current affairs perspective for students. This is a news which I would definitely recommend that people of all ages read to be aware of the dangers of the current lifestyles that we lead. The next nation page has a small article with an update on the refined oil issue, EU imposing sanctions, and then just updates on different crime related things. So, not too important. Okay. Uh, the next nation page has an interview. So, this is with AIA DMK General Secretary Edapadi K. Palaniswamy, who was once the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. And alliance with BJP is essential to unseat anti-people DMK. Now, the DMK, the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, and the AIA DMK are the two major political parties which have alternately held power in the state of Tamil Nadu. And of course, they have been the strictest of enemies, so to say, in the political sense. So this article, which is an interview with the newspaper, it says every section of society has been affected over the past 50 months since the DMK assumed office, says AIADMK General Secretary Edapadi K. Palaniswamy in an interview with these reporters. He adds that as the largest party in Tamil Nadu, the AIADMK will emerge victorious in the 2026 assembly elections. So for those interested in politics, especially politics down south, this article will be read with great interest. The next is the next nation page on top, the walk of faith that brings Delhi to life and halt. This is an article on the Kavar Yatra, which is a religious walk undertaken, a religious pilgrimage undertaken by many devout. It says in Kavar Yatra, in annual fixture, the rituals meet resilience as stories of loss and legacy abound amid chants of Mahadev. So there are a lot of individual stories below it from individuals, but definitely this is something which will be read with people who just have an interest in that kind of a thing. Below that, something which has been in the social media: artificial intelligence meets Ayodhya. Young drama group stages Pakistan's first Ramayana. Now, Ramayana is one of the holiest of epics in Hinduism, and Pakistan is a predominantly Islamic nation. In fact, it is an Islamic country. And to have one of the holiest scriptures of Hinduism being enacted with the help of artificial intelligence in that nation is something which is of great surprise. So this particular article I would definitely read just to understand what it is all about. We also have something which says Wipro to pay 2 lakh rupees to ex-staffer for defamatory remarks and relieving letter. Sensationalist news, but not much of importance. Okay, the next nation page, the one big article, at least the headlines, is that Uddhav opposes the 3-language policy in Maharashtra. After Karnataka, Maharashtra has been in the news a lot for the locals and particularly members of certain political parties insisting that the people there speak Marathi, the local language. And here the Shiv Sena chief, the Shiv Sena UBT chief, Uddhav Thackeray, asserted he would not accept any attempt by the Maharashtra government to implement a 3-language policy in the state. Now, this is something of concern, and people interested in that kind of a thing would be reading it. Next, we move on to my favorite, the middle page, which opinion pieces. The one on top, "Ouch to be young." It's an article by Renuka Bisht. It says, in a major vibe shift, 50-somethings have begun to look at 20-somethings, less with jealousy, more with pity. Gen Next is falling behind on not just good jobs, but also marriage, migration, and parties. Okay, so this is just a lifestyle related news, but the current crop of students who are currently, I believe, the target audience here would be reading this to understand what is the difference between the two generations. Below that, we have the piece by Parth Sinha, who's a senior advisory professional. And heading is "The Glorious Boredom of Test Cricket. The ongoing India-England series is a quiet resurrection of the classical form of the game." So an opinion piece on that game, which is beloved to countless number of people in India and probably England. And people, it all started with the long format, the test format, followed by the one-day internationals. And currently we have the T20s, the shortest form of the game on an international level. And test cricket, played over a span of 5 days, is often considered by many, including yours truly, to be very boring. So this is an opinion on that. The left 3 pieces on top: Gene Studio, tinkering to save lives is good, to satisfy whims bad. So that seems to be an opinion piece on genetics, on gene manipulation, on how genetics are being used to design babies, something. So people interested in science, technology, and reproduction would read that. Next, get your story out. Authorities must learn the art of good press briefing. Okay, so this seems to be related to the reporting by the reports which came out after the Boeing airplane crash in Ahmedabad and the kind of reporting which has happened. So this is to be read for those interested in media and mass communication. And at the bottom, we have "How to Live Long Minus Disease: Fasting, Personalized Nutrition, Regular Exercise." An article on health and tips on longevity. Moving on to the next page, the Nation page, a sad news: IIT Kharagpur student found dead in hostel, 5-member panel to probe. Not of great importance as far as general knowledge and current affairs is concerned. But for students, this is definitely a point of concern and can be read to understand what is happening in the world. Okay. Next is the global page. Okay. The biggest thing, the WSJ, that would be the Wall Street Journal. So obviously WSJ is the Wall Street Journal. Yesterday we had a news article where a comment by the Wall Street Journal regarding the Boeing crash was slammed by a body. So this says, the WSJ says Trump's name is on a 2003 birthday letter to Epstein. This is a reference to the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, the multimillionaire who the dead multimillionaire embroiled in controversies related to sex trafficking and pedophilia, and apparent connection that is being established between the current US President Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So, a very sordid affair and things related to that. So, nothing important from a knowledge perspective, but a titillating piece of news. Okay. Then we have the article which is follow up from the main page, which is the EU and UK target Russian oil in toughest new Ukraine war sanctions. So the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and how different countries around the world are taking note on that, and different sanctions are being imposed. Okay. Below that, we have Felix Baumgartner, first skydiver to fall faster than the speed of sound, dies in crash. Now, Felix Baumgartner was in news quite some time back. So Felix Baumgartner was the first skydiver to fall faster than speed of sound. First skydiver to fall faster than speed of sound, and this person is now dead apparently in a crash. Okay. At the very bottom, we have the sordid news of the astronomer CEO and his HR being caught on the kiss cam at Coldplay gig. Sensationalist news doing the rounds of social media in the form of brilliant memes, but nothing of importance. Okay, we move on to the business page where we have different updates. One, Asian Paints exit pumps RIL's profit to record 31,000 crore rupees in quarter one. SEBI looks to expand mutual fund categories. Reliance Retail buys Kelvinator. India gets its first woman founder of a mutual funds house. Okay, so business management aspirants, people interested in finance, economics, would read all these articles with great interest. We move on to the next page, which is the sports page. And finally, after so long, it is not dominated by cricket news as a result of the test series going on between India and England. On top, we have something related to golf, which says that Rai and Bhatia may make the cut. So, obviously, related to Indians in golf. Below that, for footy news, England beats Sweden to reach Euro semis. Okay, controversy, Mbappe under fraud probe for police payments. Okay, so interesting news, but nothing major. The next sports page now has, we come back to the cricketing, and the question asked is, should India persist with Karun Nair? The domestic stalwart is yet to get big runs at the number 3 spot in England, creating a dilemma for the team ahead of the Old Trafford test. Cricketing aficionados will be reading this with great interest. Below that, India looked to seal women's ODI series against England. Okay. Armed with multiple match winners, India will look to continue their excellent build-up to the forthcoming World Cup when they face England in the potentially series-deciding second and penultimate women's ODI on Saturday. Okay. Below that, chess. Divya stuns China's world number 6 Zhu. So world junior number 1 Divya Deshmukh and India's top 3 ranked players Koneru Hampi, D Harika and Vaishali Ramesh Babu made it to the quarterfinals of the FIDE Women's Chess World Cup in Batumi, Georgia on Friday. And all 4 Indians confirmed their last 8 berths through the tiebreak route, played in the shorter, rapid and blitz formats with different time controls. Below that, in men's, Erigaisi reaches the semifinals but Prag out of title race. So Grandmaster Arjun Erigaisi defeated Uzbekistan's Nodirbek Abdusattorov to storm into the semifinals, but Prague bowed out of the title race after losing to USA's Fabiano Caruana. Okay, so that will something which we'll be keeping an eye on. Which brings us to the last page, again nation-based updates. Okay. In change of tack, Rahul backs Vadra, alleges government witch hunt. And Robert Vadra, son-in-law of the Gandhi family, back in news, but doesn't seem to be of great importance. So that pretty much brings us to the end of today's updates. The important things being just the things that I have written. A lot of business-related news which you can read. A couple of interesting articles in there, but no major events which we could expect to follow over the course of the next few days or weeks. With that, this is me, Sathya, bringing today's session to an end. If you have liked this episode, click the like button, share it with your friends, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so.